Alright, so good afternoon, everyone. Once again, I'm Cadet Moonis, Public Affairs Officer for Detachment 88.
And I'm Cadet Jemias, 4th Sports Squadron Commander for Det 88.
So, 11th October, which was Lead Lab 7, we had a cadre panel. So basically what that was is we had Lieutenant Col Markiewitz, Major Waterman, and Captain Castillo all on board, and we asked them a lot of questions. We got to know them a lot more. We asked a lot of personal questions, a lot of professional questions about health, Air Force and RTC and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Cadet Leal and all those in attendance, and enjoy this clip.
Questions. So let's start off with the first question. What made you choose your Air Force career? And we go down Col Markiewitz and then go down the list.
Oh, okay. So what made me choose my Air Force career? Well, first off was I got into ROTC to be an English major, and then I was looking for a scholarship, and that wasn't going to be scholarship worthy. And so they determined at that point that I needed to think of other career paths. So I asked them one question, and I said, well, what doesn't require math? And they said, political science. So there I am. So that's the way I got to be a poli-sci major. Then we get into our junior year, and we're doing the selection for AFSCs, and you had the list of 8 jobs, and Intel was somewhere on the list. I don't remember where. But I also applied to be a Gold Bar recruiter, and so it wasn't really tracking in my mind what my AFSC was. I was really focused on recruiting at that point. And then got classified as a 14N, and that was really it. I mean, it wasn't necessarily intentional to become an Intel officer at the time. I think I was open to a lot of different opportunities. Really, for me, it was the commission less than the job, and kind of going into the Air Force to become an officer, and whatever AFSC I was qualified for, I was going to be fairly happy with. I had 8 options on the list, and I would have been good with any of the 8, I think.
So for me, as you know, I started off enlisted, and I basically already knew I was going to come into the military because my dad served in the Army. And actually when he was his last year of active duty, in my first year, we had about 12 months together at the same time, so that was pretty cool. But I always knew I was going to join the military. I just didn't know what exactly I was going to do. So I came in open general, spent 2 weeks in basic training, and then they shipped me off to Shepherd Air Force Base, where I learned how to become a medical technician. Clinicals at Wright Pat gave us the emergency medical side of it, so did that for 15 years. I didn't choose that job. I think it was number 4 on my list. My first 2 were dental tech and pharmacy tech, fireman, med tech, and something else. But my main thing was to stay indoors. I didn't want to, work out on flight line. I wanted air conditioning. And also, I always thought about, okay, if for some reason I learned these skills and I want to do something with it on the outside, what was more marketable. So, so fast forward, obviously, to when I finished my degree while enlisted. I chose personnel because I'm a people person. You haven't figured that out. So it's been good. It's been good. I enjoy directing people and training, firing, you name it. Anything to do with people.
And you went right to firing? You just left the hiring part out?
They're already there. If they're
I like seeing them. I like kicking them out.
Yeah, something about the way how they're walking out there doing.
So what made me choose my Air Force career? So when I was graduated high school, I knew I wanted to be in the military, and I went to an Army recruiter, and they said you need to lose 50 pounds and come back. And I said okay. So 7 months later, I lost 50 pounds, actually lost 60, and then I went to the Air Force recruiter because they were a lot nicer. And truly because I wanted to be a paralegal in the Air Force. And at the time I was working on a paralegal degree, but they said that it was really difficult to get the paralegal job right, in admission. Or they said you can join and then cross-train. So that's what I did. I kept pursuing my bachelor in paralegal studies. And then I had a captain who was telling me, you should be an officer. And I didn't have any ambition to be an officer, because honestly, I worked with pilots, so I didn't know what they did other than fly planes. And she was an intel captain, and she kept telling me, you should be an officer. And I didn't really understand why she kept pushing me.
Those intel captains are smart.
They're so smart.
Yeah.
And so, you know, she saw something, I guess, in me, and I still to this day don't know. But she kept pushing me to be an officer, and so I was like, okay, let me go find out what officer is, right? So I came here and I spoke to the recruiting officer here at the 88, and she kind of explained ROTC to me. At the time, I was still active duty. I was stationed at Beale. And then I decided that I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I Palace chased and decided to come to ROTC here, and I changed my whole degree from paralegal studies and started at Embry-Riddle in technical management. And that's how I joined. And I mean, I always knew I wanted to be in the military. I just didn't know. Obviously, the Army recruiter was just there. They were the ones that came. It was Army or Marines, and I wasn't going to go Marines. So. But
Did you decide to change your degree to meet a maintenance career path?
I did not, sir. I had no idea what I was doing, to be honest with you. I did not. They were like, I was like, I just need to get a longer degree. They said I need 4 years, and I had too many credits, and I already had an associate's when I joined the military, so I decided to do paralegal studies because I've always liked the law.
Mm-hmm.
In the civilian side, I did some civilian jobs with the law, and I did not like that side of the law. For those of you who don't know, I was a probation officer, and I just did not enjoy it. So it was difficult. It was difficult because my heart's too soft. I know it's a tough exterior, but I'm a softie.
So did you go through the officer classification directory? Did you guys go through the OCD when you picked your AFSCs?
No, sir.
I didn't.
I didn't even know the thing existed.
No, I never even heard of it until I was like a major.
Yes, sir.
I didn't even know what it was.
Me either.
Must be a personnel thing, huh?
Probably. Did you know what it was?
No,
There you go. Not a personnel thing.
just wanted a job.
Yes. And so when the jobs came, when we came to choose, I was like, I don't want to be maintenance. So I did choose FSS as my number 1, Intel as my number 2, and number 3 was airfield ops. I don't know why, and FSS didn't want me, so maintenance got me.
Force support sounds
Yeah.
all horror, but
I'm just, honestly, it's my strength.
Atlas.
Organization.
Holding the bases,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my
Holding the
God.
rope.
force, we support the force.
It's true. But I was organized and I stuck with my comfort zone, and the best thing the military ever did was push me out of my comfort zone, which was aircraft maintenance. I am the least technically inclined person that you could ever meet. My first briefings were like the thingy on the aircraft with the thingy in the back, and it was awful. And but I worked through it and I got there. So
Probably a good idea to get intel.
probably a great idea. I didn't get intel. I'm super grateful. I like to see the outdoors.
This is also true.
Yes. So.
Lots of
Yeah.
pale science fiction fans in intel. Yeah.
So I did not choose maintenance. Maintenance chose me, and I'm beyond grateful, and I couldn't see myself doing anything else, honestly.
Awesome.
Question for Captain Castillo. So you would still, to this day, never cross-train into paralegal or anything like that?
No. Yeah, no. So paralegal's an enlisted job, so I couldn't do that. But yeah, I wouldn't change it. So the next question was if I could do anything else in the Air Force, what would it be? And if I had to do something else, I would have to really think about it.
I think she intentionally skipped it.
It's like the third question.
Yeah.
Oh, it's more informal. It's like if
But
structured thing.
yeah, no, I love it. It's hard. Maintenance is hard. It's a different world, but I love it. So I couldn't change it.
Wow. You do anything else? All right, what do you think?
In the Air Force or life?
It could be anything.
In the Air Force.
Well,
Says
I'm gonna answer why did you want to instruct Air Force Sergeant? I've been trying to do this. Yeah, I've been trying to do this for 10 years. Oh, hey.
Yeah. Have a seat.
I've been trying to instruct Air Force ROTC for 10 years now, and the timing just did not work out with my personnel functional managers deciding to keep me in a career field for whatever reason. So I was trying to apply for University of Central Florida, or University of South Florida, or Miami, or Florida State. Yes, I was in Florida trying to get all these jobs. Didn't happen. Just so happens that I got Sac State. I never even knew Sac State had an ROTC program. But here I am. And I wanted to do it because when I filled out my Form 56, it's this form that when you go to the OTS board, you kind of brag on yourself and say, hey, who are you and why do you want to do this? I remember saying, I want the opportunity to give back to those, those coming after me because of what was done for me. There are a lot of people that looked out for me, mentors, before the word mentor even existed, right? It was just called, hey, I'm your supervisor, or hey, I just want to see you become successful. So now there's a word for it, mentorship. So that was just what I've always wanted to do. I wanted to be put in a position to be able to deal with young adults and pull out things in them that they don't even know exist yet, right? So it's all about developing and just pushing and inspiring, right? Getting you to that point where you just stay driven. And hopefully you will do the same for those who come after you.
Yeah, I echo a lot of that, except for the FSS part. I don't be part of that.
Yeah.
But the instruction piece is really, I think you're going to find that nowadays, because the instructors are boarded, and you have to actually request, these kind of things, and the whole intent of ROTC instructors and recruiters in the future is that through Talent Marketplace, they actually have an opportunity to get people who want to do this job, and then detachments who select them to come do this job. So it's not voluntold anymore. It's not non-volled, as they say. You don't have people who are, put in these positions because there's nowhere else to go and they're just career-ending positions. Those don't exist anymore here. And so the intent is to try to get cadre who are motivated about what they're doing, that want to take on the challenge, because it is definitely a challenge, let me tell you. There's a lot more than I think we ever really even figured coming into this job. But nonetheless, it has a baseline to it that you need to have the right people in the right positions, and if you board it right, you'll have that. If you don't, you'll end up with what it used to be when I went through, 25 years ago, was you don't know what kind of deck commander you get. You don't know what kind of instructors you get, because they may be very bitter that they got railroaded into this position, and that's not the case anymore. Mm-hmm. So we've all asked to do this, and why did we want to instruct? I think is very similar to what you said. We look ahead and our careers are winding down, at least for the two of us, and we're looking at how do we make a positive impact? Can we give back a little bit? Can we help set the Air Force up? Can we make a difference with some folks who are kind of on the way and shaping the future? And if we can do just a little bit of that, then I think we've ended our careers the right way, and we've set a whole generation of Air Force officers off on a great path to get started. So yeah, and we're excited to do this, and we both asked for Sac State, so it's a number one choice for both of us, and can't be happier.
She selected as well.
Yeah.
All three of us.
All three of us selected her, yeah. But I wasn't including her in my ending career thing. Yeah,
Oh,
she still has a lot
okay.
of,
That's
yeah,
a
she's
jab
got
at the
a lot of
old man here.
Yeah, I know.
It's cocoa butter, though.
Yeah. Yeah. The rest of us are looking toward the check of the month club.
Yeah.
So I have a question for everyone. What has been your number one most difficult thing since coming to the detachment? Like Air
just
Force
gear.
ROTC related or wing related?
Wow. You go first. No pressure.
A typical thing? I don't
Remember the
know.
recording.
Difficult.
Oh, difficult. I thought you said typical. I was like, well, I'd be called a lot, but difficult, I think, was been the most difficult thing. I think for me, it's, I think the most difficult thing for me is watching those of you with a lot of potential give up on yourself. That's been the hardest thing for me. And I see it. I saw when you, day one, and I see you in week 7, and I see the difference in what I see in you versus what you think you're capable of. And so I think that has been the most difficult thing, is watching those cadets, the ones that are leaving, or the ones that I see it in their face in class or at PT because I don't think that I understood that when I was a cadet fully. I would see it in the 100s when I was in my 3 and 4 year, but I don't think I understood the magnitude. Because what I would hope is that everybody gets resiliency out of this program, and that, because that's the hardest thing to come by. And you can't really teach that, and so that's really hard. So I think that's probably the most difficult thing for me.
What do you say?
I say the same thing. You pretty much said everything I would say. I mean, we sit here as leaders that enjoy doing what we do, and it's on us to develop you and to challenge you. But to hear, someone say, I don't think this is for me because of X, Y, Z. No. You failed today, but tomorrow is another day. Pick yourself up, figure it out, learn from your mistake, and keep it moving. There's a reason why this is 4 years. Right? There's a reason why this is 4 years. So don't take this for granted. Just, keep pushing, keep learning, take care of each other. But we enjoy this, but I will tell you, when I drive home and I've had that conversation with a cadet that just kind of feels that it's not working out for them, and they're really not given a chance, that does bother us. It really does. So that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah, for sure. I think the administration piece of it, at least on my part from the deck commander side, I think it was a whole lot easier running an Air Force active duty squadron. I think there is significantly more individual administrative requirements for this program when you balance the regular squadron admin, you balance the instruction requirements, you balance all the boards, trying to make sure that no one, whether they're a 100 or a 400, is getting an oversight on a possibility or an opportunity or these things, and just getting that information out there, that you're not just handling one squadron with very similar requirements. You're handling 4-year groups with very individual needs, and then also doing the military thing for a small team effort here in the cadre. And so that I think the balancing of all that stuff has been very challenging, and it really does require everyone to kind of step up. And I think we notice it on the cadre side, is that we don't have an opportunity to kind of live in our own little worlds. If there's not an opportunity I have just to say, well, I'm the detachment commander, so you guys handle it, just let me know what happens. I don't have that luxury. I don't have a staff of 25, staff officers and a squadron of 150 out there that I can just task things out to. We've got a very small team, and if we don't work together, then it's not getting done. So, just the change from the squadron to the small unit environment, regardless of how many cadets, it's still a small unit environment, and you have to be able to make that shift. So I think that's been challenging. I only said that because I want to say something different.
And to be clear, like for me, I watch the people that leave. Obviously, they have their reasons, but I think it's difficult. I see it even in the 200s and the 300s and the 400s that look like, oh my gosh, But it's true for all of you, because I see, and you may think it's not a lot. I don't think it's enough time to interact with you guys and get to know you, and you'll have work and lives, and I've been there, done that. So I do not envy you at all, because it is not easy. But yeah, it's all of you. It's not just the ones that are leaving the program. It's that look of defeat that I see sometimes in you, and when you're down, and I just, I don't know. Whatever you gotta do to get back up, you gotta do it, right? Mm-hmm. It's within you to do that.
Okay, Soto.
So talking about losing cadets, and of course we develop bonds with them. What has been that collaborative key motivation that you've developed as a team or as friends going through the program?
What are you talking about? Are you talking about how we are together amongst us, or
Overall, throughout ROTC and as cadre?
Well, first of all, we're not friends. Yeah, we're not friends. We like each other, but we're No, we're good.
You had them all going.
So for me, and so they're both ROTC graduates. I went to OTS. I graduated from OTS, where we were there on campus for 12 weeks straight, right? We already had our degrees, so all we had to worry about was pretty much aerospace studies, right? Totally different culture. I had to check myself and get that out of my mind because I thought it was going to be a bit similar to that, but I had to realize through them talking to me and telling me like, hey, remember, they're also students. You guys are students, right? You have classes like how to build nuclear missiles or whatever it is you guys are doing. You guys are really smart, right? We've got to strike that balance as to how much of this do we want to beat them down with and interrupt their other studies, because you need your degree to get a commission. So it was finding that balance right there, that these are students, they get to go home, they have life, they're not, sleeping in the same bed and, this annoying roommate and doing what we did in OTS for 12 weeks.
Yeah, it's also not the Air Force Cadre.
Yeah, there we go,
That's
yeah.
a completely different environment,
Mhm,
where you
mhm.
eat, sleep, drink, live military
Right.
for those 4 years. This is entirely different.
Yeah. So they helped me with that adjustment, and I had to check myself and just back up a little bit. Now I understand it as how we can be best utilized as far as instructors, and when to turn it up, when to turn it down, and oh, by the way, we have an open door policy. Why? Because we're teaching you about life as well. They didn't teach us about life in OTS. It was all every day, every hour.
Were you asking also about, like, from our ROTC years, like contact with people that we were classmates with and that kind of stuff?
Yes, and what was that like motivation that emerged out of your classmates?
I don't know, because once you commission, you kind of go your own ways unless you go to the same base, and really now I think contact is a whole lot better. We had to telegraph and teletype, right, and that kind of stuff, and send carrier pigeons. Is that what we did?
See?
But just joking. Yeah, God, you guys are a tough crowd. But no, I mean, now you got the email. You can keep in contact with all kinds of social media and everything else. I mean, I think you guys will be able to stay in contact with each other a lot better than my group did, really. But every so often, and probably it's also the generation, because we can not see each other for 15 years, and all of a sudden, like, he ran into a classmate of mine at the air show. And he was like, oh, yeah, I went to Fresno State. Yeah, who was your deck commander? Yeah, and they got to talking, and he's like, do you remember him? And I was like, yeah, I remember him. He was a couple years behind me in ROTC.
How was the transition from, I guess, ROTC, where you might have like a bunch of classmates and your flight members, and you have all these people like your peers that you can rely on? How was the transition from that world to commissioning and being a butter bar and the probably the only one in a unit? Just having like not as many wingmen, and you have your senior NCO to rely on, and maybe higher ranking people, but not as many peers. So how was that transition? Was it kind of overwhelming, or?
Okay, go for it.
So, you went from being surrounded by your team, by your peers, by your friends. It doesn't have to stop, because there's a CGO council, okay? And I advise all of you, once you go in, especially seniors, to get involved with the CGO council. We call it the CGOC, because that's all the CGOs, lieutenants, all the lieutenants, captains, right? They're all going to be a part of this. You'll have meetings, you'll have a president, but you'll do a lot of things together, and you'll get a group really quick. And if you're in a squadron like maintenance, right, you have your lieutenant mafia, and so that's what they call us when they see 3 or 4 lieutenants. You're a lieutenant mafia. That's what they're gonna call you. But I will say my very first duty station was Langley, and we hung out every other Friday. If we could get away, we would have lunch together, and that was my support group. And then from there, I went to Seymour Johnson a year later, and I got involved in the CGOC right away, and I met 3 females there. 2 are FSS, 1 is maintenance, and they're still my go-to. They're still the ones. We have a group message in Facebook, and you would be surprised, no matter which squadron or group or whatever your job is, you're going through similar things because you're pretty much at the same point in life, right? So I would just advise you guys to reach out to the CGO Council and get involved with them.
Yeah, I'll add a couple things on that too, is that I did not do CGOC. I did it for 1 year and I left and I never went back. But one thing that I did find though is that there were some people that I connected with as lieutenants that not necessarily were part of CGOC, but had similar interests or hobbies or any of that kind of stuff. I met a few, playing golf, and a couple that, we could relate to baseball, and a few that, were just good peers. Some were intel, some weren't. But there are a few, like I've got one who's, a pilot, two people who I actually work with in intel, that even though our careers have gone various ways, we've stayed in contact. We send Christmas cards and all this kind of stuff back and forth. So, and that's also been people that were also there for me, when I've had some personal struggles in life over the last few years, and, have been good support systems to reach out. So I think the bonds you make in your lieutenant years will stay. I think they're fewer and fewer as you continue on, because most everybody at that point, there's fewer of you, that are still serving anyway, when you get into that, 20 to 30 year mark. But you still have those people that you were first with that carries with you for quite a while.
Thank you.
I think that might wrap it up for all the time that we have. So, thank you so much.
Oh,
Sure, I thought we had
until
10 minutes.
2:50, I think.
Is it?
So we can have another 10 to 15 minutes left over. So the next slide, Captain Castillo was talking about active duty life. So we want to see one of the biggest issues between cadets and ROTC is workload. So how do you balance workload and family?
Ooh. Oh man. So this is an interesting question, and it's almost like if you want to be a millionaire and how to be a billionaire, go talk to a millionaire, right? Don't find the homeless guy. If you're looking for balancing workload and family, you've got to try to reach out to the folks who've made it work. I think I've been fairly successful at it. My wife and I have been married 20 years here in just a few weeks, and just looking back over that time, I've had a lot of good examples of bad examples. A lot of people who've been around me that have been work, deploy, work, and it's like, man, your career is really on the upswing, and how's that third marriage going? It's difficult, when you're trying to focus on just that, you don't, you don't make that balance. I even had the group commander when I was going through intel school was giving us individual counseling, finishing the 14N program, and sat down and was like, okay, what do you see your career doing? I said, well, I'd really like to end up as an intel squadron commander. That's really kind of where I'd like to end the game. She's like, not a group commander? I was like, well, if that's possible, then potentially if I stick around long enough. Says, all right, well, how's your family life? I said, well, I just got married. She's like, oh, well, that's going to be rough on you then. And that was kind of the feedback early on, was, man, this relationship stuff's just not going to work out. Well, I don't know. I don't think she really knew what she was talking about. She was on multiple marriages anyway. And so that's what she was coming around with. That was the point, is that we'll do as I say, not as I do, right? Well, now you look at people who've made it work. I think on the reserve side, because I'm still a reservist coming active duty, they always say if you got three things in your life, your work, your civilian work, and your family, and if all three of them are just a little bit pissed at you, you're probably doing okay, because it's a difficult job. You got to spend the long hours at the office, and you might have a civilian career, and then you've got the family life, and all three of them have that delicate balance. But I think in order to be really successful in all of it, you've got to be able to have that negotiation with all three. Understand that family is very much involved in your PCS, very much involved in your decisions for what career path you want to take. Every deployment, think of them, make sure that you're getting all the resources together. And just if you're working solid with the support system, you'll make it work out. But it is definitely, you have to be intentional about it. That's for sure.
I think that was the key word, is you have to be intentional.
Yeah.
Intentional is what it takes. I think for me, the work-life balance question is like, what came first, the chicken or the egg, honestly? You just kind of don't know how to, but you make it work, Your family will probably always be your priority. There are people who prioritize work, and I've had those commanders, where they're at work 16 hours a day, and you're just like, you have 5 kids, why are you still here,
Yeah.
But that's their personality, work is their personality, and that's a lot of what they feel like that's their comfort zone. That's where they're the most happy. But think about the struggle. I was a second lieutenant pregnant with twins, and so I had to figure it out really quick and in a hurry. And I can't say that I have it all figured out, but we do. We figure it out because my husband's also military. So mill to mill, just starting off as an officer with twins, pregnant with twins, was not an easy start. But work-life balance to me is just one of those questions that it's absolutely hard to answer, and it looks different for everybody.
Yep. But intentionality is the ticket.
Intentional, yes.
Mhm.
I have to be intentional about leaving at 16:30 so that my husband's not, bathing the boys himself every night, so, yes. Any other questions?
And Dad? Right.
Answer?
This is not Jerry Springer, so I'm gonna pass on my behalf. We can talk offline about my path. Next question.
Okay. So, anyone in
folks,
the
I'm glad
audience
you're
has
here.
any questions? We go to the next one. What advice would you give a new officer?
You want to start with that one?
Sure. Salute each other, right? So this thing about butter bars and, the silver bars not saluting each other, first a 1 LT and a 2 LT, yes, you have to salute each other, right? You have to, you as a butter bar, second lieutenant will salute a first lieutenant. When you become first lieutenants, you make sure that second lieutenant salutes you, because it's what you ask of the others that are under you. So this whole little rule about, oh, we're LTs, we don't salute each other. Just stick with the standards, you can never go wrong. And that's one of those things that may sound nitnoid, that LTs seem to get away with, but everyone's watching, so.
And more importantly, that new airman is watching.
Exactly.
And they're not sure whether it's because you guys are buddies or you set a different standard or you don't know the rules. And so you become incompetent, inept, or otherwise untrustable. And so that airman will see you as making exceptions to policy, but yet you're holding them to the standard. And you don't want to be that guy. Yeah. But I'd also give the advice, this is your time to train, is here. This is the 4 years. When you put the bar on, the mistakes are over. Right, you're an officer at that point, so don't use your second lieutenant years to. Well, I have 2 years to screw up a little bit. No, you don't. You might be deployed in 6 months after you get on active duty. So do you want to be the one who's deployed downrange with airmen you're responsible for, and they look at you for an answer, and you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm just here to mess up a little bit. That's not right. So the minute you're commissioned, you're commissioned. I mean, you got to be ready to take that responsibility. That's exactly why you raise your right hand and take that oath. You didn't take an oath to be able to mess up for 2 years. You took an oath to be pro for 2 years and to move on past that. So ask the questions now, learn the system now, learn all the processes and procedures here. And then when you get on active duty, be ready to go, day one.
Well, I have to go, but thank you.
All right, thanks for coming. You want to take one more?
Yeah, to end it on a little lighter note. So here's 3 questions you all can pick from. Little funny stories about yourself to relate the whole wing.
Oh, dang.
Oh, I'm not telling any.
I'll tell you a story about the most embarrassing briefing to the vice wing commander. So, I'll tell you a story. Yeah, it's funny. So everybody laughed at me. So I didn't know why, but so I had a brief. So I was an OIC, an officer in charge of an aircraft maintenance unit, right? So I had 235 people and 24 F-15E Strike Eagles. And we had one jet that was impounded because of flight control issues, right? That's a huge deal. When the pilot wants it to go one way and it does something completely crazy, that's a big deal. So, AMU life is like tenfold. So this jet had come down, and we ended up figuring out what it was, and it turns out it was missing a clamp, okay?
So unfortunately, that's as much time we have right now. But thank you very much. Again,
Cliffhanger.
We're gonna have another panel, so if you want to hear that awesome story, come to that.
Nope, too late, you lost your moment.
That was a teaser.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for everyone coming. Thank you, Cadre, for taking your time out to address the wing. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everybody. Thank you.
All right, so hope everyone enjoyed that. There may possibly be a second cadre panel coming up, so stay tuned for emails and announcements talking about that.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we would like to see a bigger audience as well. We realized that it was kind of difficult to come in on this last one, but let's get a big audience and yeah.
Alright, so as usual, if you enjoyed, leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and stay tuned for upcoming episodes. Have a good rest of your day, everyone.